Yo, what is up YouTube? And today we're talking about the biggest controversial unit in the game, and that is Shadow Sonia. She was just a part of like a huge drama issue where she doesn't work in Aurora anymore, and people were saying that she's terrible, worst SSR in the game, and there was like a ton of community backlash to it. But I'm here to tell you that even after this changes, she is the best PvE unit alongside another character which we'll talk about, which she needs to work with. But basically she is going to enable your account to progress through content that you shouldn't be able to progress through. And you're going to see, for example, in Terramaton, Inferno, all of the comps are basically Shadow Sonia. You can see there's like one Chloros comp right now, this guy, Leviatra, and the only reason why he can do this with this comp, which is the standard one-shot comp, is because literally look at this guy's Chloros and literally look at this guy's dieting. It's insane. But basically, you know, she works in Terramaton, which is the first threshold to have on farm if you can, because it drops super good DPS gear, right? You have Onslaught, you have the Fury Edge, which is insane, and then you have Kenai. You just can build your DPS all with that, and then makes farming the other thresholds a lot easier as well. And then she's also very good in like Nico Nana. So you're gonna see even me, I'm like the 5th fastest run in Nico Nana. I used to be literally #1. And it's not because I'm skilled at using her, it's just because she's so broken. And you're gonna see, if you look at Nico Nana, I'm pretty sure there's 0 teams without Sania. Yep, there's literally 0 teams. There's only like 20 teams in total, and there's 0 teams that don't have her. If you look at also Shadow Flame Hoyan, another shell farming area, right? You're gonna see that's all Shadow Sonia. Hey, that's me again. And there's all Shadow Sonia, which is insane, right? The only ones where you're not going to see her right now is Sharon. I don't know how this guy cleared that. And also Rengo Kutsu. Just isn't cleared in general, I guess. But basically, let's go back to the unit here. She is just super broken. And why is this? Well, you're going to see that she has a passive that allows her to stack dots. And dots make you take 4% of your max HP at the start of the turn. She can extend those dots, and then she can actually blow up the dots depending on how many turns are left. So if there's 2 turns on a dot left, it'll do 8% max health. 3%, if there's 3 turns left, it'll do 12%. You get what I'm saying? Basically just blows them all up, makes them do their full duration damage. And she can just blow up bosses with high health with this very easily. You can even pair her with this character known as Fangus, who also has dots. And he has a very broken S3 because it puts 2 turns of dot, which is basically 8% max health if you think about it, but also a speed down, which you can cycle very quickly with. And he also has this very powerful S2, which I need to max out, which if people attack, he has a chance to assist, right? Which means basically follow up with the basic attack, and his basic attack has a chance to put dots. So you can kind of see it's like dots on dots on dots, and then you pair them with something like a Lily, who can actually force Sania to assist on every S1 and also have a chance to bring Fangus. And then you also have, you know, the speed buff for your team, so you cycle faster. You can kind of see that you're just lapping the boss over and over and just putting dots on dots on dots. And even though you're thinking, oh, what if they just die and get one shot? Well, you bring Valerian, who has this S3 passive that you start the battle with if you max their S3. That prevents one shots and use it again. And then you even have an invincibility to put on your Sonia to make sure she actually detonates those dots. So it's pretty much like a perfect team comp, and it's very strong at taking down those bosses. And you're probably thinking, oh, it's super niche, you know, what's the big deal if people are just farming a little bit earlier? The thing is, these thresholds are super overtuned. I'm not gonna lie, like the reason why you only see Sonias in threshold for Terramaton is because the boss is just really overtuned unless you have crazy gear. And for Terramaton, it's a big issue because if you can farm Terramaton, especially on Inferno, you will be able to do Doki Doki and Aurora on Inferno very quickly. And the reason why is, I mentioned it before, you get the best DPS set here, Kenai, and you also get the specialized core, which gives you an extra crit rate and crit damage. This is insane value. You have to run this. Fury Edge. And then you can also even run like Onslaught. So basically, you know, you can run something like a Kenai, you can run the specialized core Fury, and then like regular Fury set. Or you can run Onslaught set, you can run the specialized core Fury, and like Harvest set. You can run a 12-8-6 setup, and it's super broken on your DPS. And the reason why this is so powerful is because Doki Doki and Aurora honestly are like damage checks, right? Aurora, you kind of have to just nuke the boss, and Doki Doki, you kind of just have to nuke the ads with your Romilka or your Shiada, whatever you're running. So basically, you just have a super juiced out DPS, and all you need around them is like fast supports and speed. You can like start farming in Hell 1. Even though it's not like the greatest like pieces, if you just roll on pieces that have decent speed as their substat. For example, if I go to like this piece here that you see, this bramble piece that's 2 matrices, I speed chased it because it was 4 liner, right, and has speed on it. It's 12 speed, so it's very easy to actually get speed on your supports, but getting good damage is like pretty difficult, especially in the early to mid game, and it's gonna gate a lot of your threshold progress. I guarantee if you're like struggling in like any of these thresholds before Hell 4, it's literally just a damage problem or speed tuning problem. So even though she cannot dot farm Doki Doki and Aurora, the fact that she can do Terramaton makes it so that Doki Doki and Aurora in turn becomes a lot easier. There is one downside though with her. So her AI it's pretty shitty, I'm not gonna lie. You have to like perfectly speed tune it to actually make it work on very good gear. Otherwise she like does like some weird shit where she does like S2 to S3 without like stacking dots. Like there'll only be like 4 dots on the boss and she does it, and it's very bad. So it's not that great, so you have to manual. But you have to keep in mind, like, you're capped at how much energy you can get in the game. So, you can't like just infinitely refresh. So even if you manual, it's not the end of the world. It's only bad for your time, to be honest. But if you have a decent amount of time and you're manualing with Shadow Sonia, it's always worth it, right? Because you're just farming the hardest content that you possibly can. And because there's a energy cap, a soft energy cap in terms of how much you can play the game, it's always good if you just do the hardest content as possible. So, now I definitely think that this is very toxic for the game, because you can see I literally have purple gear on. All you need is effect accuracy and speed. You don't need any attack, and you barely need any bulk because you're running Valerian. So because of this, it just creates an atmosphere where if you have this unit, you can clear content with very crappy gear. That's like the hardest in the game, and I think it's pretty toxic. Every gacha game that has like this percent health dot mechanic, like Epic 7's, Abyss, Kira's Cheese, for example, is pretty toxic, and I'm not really sure how we should tackle this. A lot of people in the community are saying to actually nerf the PvE content so other characters actually have a chance without needing godlike gear. There's like a saying that you shouldn't need Inferno gear to farm Inferno, which is kind of true. If you don't have Inferno gear, it's hard to get into Inferno, funnily enough. That's kind of why Shadow Sonia is really good. Like for me, I plan to use Shadow Sonia to get like my Terramaton set, and then after that I'll start farming Doki Doki with it, and farming Aurora, and then eventually I'll phase out Shadow Sonia for better auto teams. But right now, just to push content, Shadow Sonia is super broken. I think maybe instead of nerfing the PvE content, they could also just give us more currency and upgrade materials instead, because a lot of people actually run out of materials when upgrading and it feels really bad. So characters that are like very damage reliant, like damage dealers obviously, it feels really bad when you don't have maxed out modules and shells, and it doesn't really matter for Shadow Sonia, right? She just needs any speed, any effect accuracy, and you're good to go, which is why I think it's a big problem. I'm not really too sure myself how to fix this. I want to say, just rework the character, and then like maybe just give everyone like a selector and a refund, but I highly doubt they'll do that with all the drama that she's caused in the past week after her quote-unquote shadow nerf, because a lot of like newer players thought that she went from a very good character to like the worst SSR in the game, when in reality she's still the best SSR for PvE late game by far. Of course, you need Lily to make her work as well, so Lily is probably still the best, but Shadow Sonia is like the second best then, which is insane. So yeah, how do you guys think we should solve this problem? I think personally that they should just give us more resources and maybe make the bosses have less health. It'll make it a lot better. But I'm curious what you guys think, so let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video.